Welcome to part 2 of our top 50 news in AI for 2025. Number 10 is the US AI regulation. The year 2025 didn't start on a very big achievement for AI regulation because the first thing that happened is President Donald Trump issued an executive order that revoked another executive order that was trying to put in place AI regulation. So there was really a step back towards not having any AI regulation. And this executive order, the 14110, was about making AI safe and secure, promote responsible innovation, etc., equity, civil rights. So because it was done by the previous administration, it didn't make it through, and January was a huge step backwards towards having AI regulation in the US. US was already late compared to China, compared to Europe, compared to other countries where there was already AI regulation. Finally, in July of 2025, the America's AI Action Plan was released. And the title is really interesting, Winning the Race. When we're talking about regulation, the title is not making sure we develop AI responsibly, making sure that everything is ethical, making sure AI is a force for good. It's not AI for humanity, it's winning the race. Very clear. And when you look into in more details into that AI regulation, it's 19 federal policy designed to accelerate innovation. Win at all costs. This is what the AI regulation is about. So when you put that in perspective with teen suicide, with IP violation, this is not at all what the USA is looking forward. They just want to win at all costs, whatever the cost for US citizens, whatever the cost for US companies. So the AI companies, the American one at least, they have free range. Looking at AI regulation around the world, it's interesting to look at this map to see which country have AI regulation and which country don't have. So now definitely US, Canada, China, Europe, Southeast Asia has quite a lot, South America. Africa has almost nothing. That big blank blue space here is Russia. And the Middle East, only that part of the Middle East have AI regulation. So big news for 2025. US finally have an AI regulation. There are finally federal laws that are supposed to increase the power of the AI companies, making sure they innovate faster and they deploy as many AI applications as possible. Number 9 in our top 15 news for 2025 is the release of GPT-5. When you give a name to a software, any kind of software, any kind of application, when you change the big number, what we call the major version, that means this is something completely different. So GPT-5 compared to GPT-4, when they release it and they call it 5, that's a signal to the market and that's a signal to the user that this is completely new, this is a huge breakthrough, you're going to be amazed. So on August 7, OpenAI released GPT-5, the company says the model is smarter, faster, more powerful. Now, there's already a disconnect between calling it GPT-5 and saying that it's smarter, faster, and more useful. These are incremental improvements. So should they have called it GPT 4.2, 4.5? That would have been more honest from the get-go, because there's a disconnect, again, between calling it a completely new model and starting a new version, V5, version 5, and the announcement that is there. And then, very quickly, Backlash. OpenAI faces backlash for retiring all models with GPT-5 launch. User really love GPT 4.0. User had many years to get used to it, find a ways how to use it. And then because GPT-5 is coming and it's released to all the users, then 4.0 is not available anymore for them. And then there was another reason for a backlash, that was the router. So what is a router? The router is here to decide which model is going to be used, because GPT-5 is not one model. GPT-5 is several models hiding behind. There's a text model and there's a reasoning model. So the text model will be very quick and give you a quick answer. The reasoning model will give you a more detailed answer, more thought out. Sometimes we call it deep thinking. So if you have a prompt, if you have a request that is more complicated, requires a longer reasoning, then we should use a reasoning model. And GPT-5, the first release of GPT-5 said, I'm going to decide it for you. Now, personally, I don't like it. I like to be in control. I know when I need a text model, I know when I need a reasoning model. I don't want the application to decide it for myself. And that's, again, the second huge backlash, where users felt they were not in control. They were not in control of their own experience. And there was also the risk that maybe because if you have a subscription with GPT-5, because reasoning model costs more than text model, maybe OpenAI will use the text model a little bit more and not give you the best performance because they have to pay the cost. And the CEO, Sam Altman, very often says, we're losing money, the compute cost is very high. So these were the two major criticisms from the GPT-5 release. Number one, you retired 4.0, which a lot of users really, really like. And number two, you're deciding if you want to use text or reasoning, and smart users who have been trained, know what to do. So because of all this backlash, OpenAI restored the older model. And they also double the rate limit, meaning they give access to a little bit more processing power to the user, at least a little bit more faster response. They also put back the selectors, so users are able to select if they want a text model or reasoning model. So this is a very, very interesting turn of events. It's very rare that B2C application undo things that they've done when they've upgraded. There was hardly any cases in the history of, let's say, Meta, when users didn't like a change that was made in Meta, and Meta said, okay, sorry, we're going to undo that. But that's what OpenAI did. So that demonstrates the power of users, and that demonstrates also that GPT and GPT-5, OpenAI, are really B2C applications. They really need that huge user base. They're not looking, they do have a B2B offer, but they're not looking so much a B2B offer. And the roadmap and the influence of the roadmap is not made for professional. It's really made for personal usage, because you don't listen to users if you're a B2B company. You listen to companies. You listen to company strategy, and you listen to maybe the CEO or the CIO, or and also quite often to the CFO. So that was number 8, the release of GPT-5, which was a major event in 2025, both positive, negative, and turned out to be a success for OpenAI, because they continue to have an increasing number of monthly users. Okay. So this was number 9, the release of the GPT-5 in 2025, major event, big backlash, turned around pretty well. OpenAI is doing well. They have 700 million monthly users. They're doing okay. Now moving on to number 8. Number 8 in 2025 is the rise of the open weight model. The first really big open weight model was DeepSeek R1. So DeepSeek R1 was released on the 20th of January at the very beginning of the year. And that was a big event. So first of all, that was the first reasoning model coming out of China, from a Chinese company. And number 2, it was open weight. What means open weight? You can download the model by yourself, host it by yourself, which means you don't need to pay anything to DeepSeek, but of course you need infrastructure to run it, so you need your own servers, which means that you can absolutely 100% protect your data. So for B2B usage for companies, this is massive. And the fact that an open weight model can have very good performance is also something new. And in 2025, this was the first signal that open weight and open source models are going to be a thing, and they are viable, and companies can bet on that. And of course, when DeepSeek released it, their main competitor, I mean, they're of course looking at OpenAI. So the first thing that they put here is you have similar performance as OpenAI O1. Now, every company can make a claim. Is it true? If you want to know if it's true, we need to look at benchmarks. So benchmarks, what does the benchmark tell us? The benchmark tells us that yes, DeepSeek R1 has a pretty good performance, 88.4 on the MMLU, and that's an 84% on human level. But that doesn't stop there. This was again a signal, and other companies followed. So Meta followed with their Llama 4 for 105 gigabytes, but then this one is extremely interesting. Even OpenAI went out and released their own open weight model, which means that in the offering of an AI company, in the past, OpenAI never had an open weight model. They are all proprietary, meaning you cannot download it. You only can use it on the OpenAI server or through their partnership via Microsoft or other platforms that are distributing their model. But there was no way for a company to come and deploy it on their own server on-premise. Now, this one, GPT-OSS, GPT-OSS was released in August. They released 2 models, and they are available under Apache 2.0 license. So Apache is a very famous open source project that set up the kind of gold standard towards what an open source software, how you can use it. Can you use it for commercial application? Can you use it for your company? Can you make money? Can you resell it? So Apache is a very, very famous one that a lot of companies are using it. And then these LLM, you can run them on smaller hardware, even on the latest AI laptops. So this is a big change in 2025. Now OpenWeight are on par with proprietary model. You can get good performance. And for companies who have a strong incentive to protect their data and run everything locally on their own cloud, this is a big change in 2025. This was number 8, the rise of open-weight open source models in 2025. Now number 7, since we're talking about benchmark and since we're talking about performance, how was the performance increase in 2025 for models? So this is one of the statistic websites that release benchmarks. These are independent companies, so they are not paid by the AI manufacturer, and they run tests, and they run the same tests for all the text models, reasoning models, all the LLMs that are available. Now, what you see here are the performance in 2024 and 2025. That line at the top is what we call the state of the art. It means when a model is released, on the month of its release, if it's the best one, we say we've improved the overall performance, we've improved the state of the art. So this is the best model at one point. And of course, it's been replaced. Now, it's very easy to see it from this curve. The progression in 2024 was from, so it's on the GPQA, we went from 35 to 79. So 35, 79, this was the progression in 2024. Now in 2025, we went from 79 to 91. The curve looks really flat. Now the progression on this particular benchmark has been very, very small. It's increment, and as you can see here, in 2024 there were huge gaps. So when we were talking about breakthrough, yes, there was a breakthrough. Between Cloud Sonnet and GPT-4o, you see the curve is going up really by a lot. Now whenever there's a change from one month to the next one, it is incremental. Now, what does it mean? Does it mean that the performance of the text models are flattened out? That it's extremely difficult to gain performance? Yes, but this is only one benchmark. This is one way to look at the performance. When the benchmark was put in place, it was 30%. So there was a huge range of progressions. So the complexity of the benchmark was like looking at what the LLM can do, but looking at all the things that the LLM could not do. And the industry looked at those benchmarks. Those benchmarks are very important for them. So whenever they do an improvement and whenever they compare, because before releasing a model, they will compare different versions, like is this better than that? And before they decide they want to release it, they're looking at the benchmark because everybody's looking at this curve. So the benchmark has somehow changed and influenced the way the industry is looking at it. And beating the benchmark somehow has been more important, especially in 2025, than actually the user experience, than the usefulness of the model. So the benchmark was there to test the model, but the model has adapted to the benchmark. And now what is happening is we need a new benchmark. So the performance, so this one is not measuring anything. So we have the wrong measure. And now for the next wave of development and for the next wave of what's going to happen, basically this particular benchmark is useless. Because how are we going to go from 91.9% to 92.3%? Is it better? Is it more useful? We don't know. So we need new benchmark, and there are new benchmarks that are being developed for the next wave of development. So we shouldn't be looking at this one, we should be looking at that one. So if we're looking at this one, Gemini 3 Pro, we need a new benchmark that says this one is only achieving 30% of what we need, what we want for 2026. You know? So on one side, we can say, yes, the LLM are being plateaued and it costs more and more money to get additional percentage. But on the other side, we need new benchmarks. So we need to look at what are the benchmarks for 2026 that we need to look at. So this was number 7, benchmark and performance improvement on the text model and reasoning model in 2025. Now let's look at number 6 in our top 15 AI news for 2025. NanoBanana. What is NanoBanana? You probably heard about it. So NanoBanana is an AI image generator. But there's something very, very interesting. It's also an editing tool. In AI image generation, there was a big problem until NanoBanana came in. It's what we call continuity. If you generate 2, 3, 4 images, even if your prompt has similar description, let's say of a pet, of a human, of a car, you will never get twice the same pet, car, or human. You know, it will not be the same person. And the breakthrough of NanoBanana, that what really changed, is that now NanoBanana has solved the continuity issue. So when you use NanoBanana in editing mode, you can say, keep that thing in the image and change that other thing. You know? And of course, you can fully edit it in text mode. So you can describe the modification that you want, and you have continuity. This is a huge breakthrough. In the past, so before NanoBanana, for continuity, you needed a workflow, you needed complex workflow, for example, from a tool that is called Comfy UI. There were different tools, and there was a lot of programming involved just to keep the same face, the same image. You know, if you remember in our top 15, remember that number 15 was an AI actress, and we looked at how her picture and everything that was on the internet. She has the same face with different settings, different makeup, different clothes, different things. This is what we're talking about in terms of continuity. So when they released NanoBanana, this was the image that flooded the internet, where from a picture of a real cat, we can have the cat. We can have the cat as a 3D model. We can have the same cat in different situations in a 3D modeling software. We can have the cat as a poster into a box that contains a scale version of that cat. You know. And this is the same cat. You can look at it, you can zoom, you can see this is the same cat, and you can recognize that cat, you can recognize all its features, but in different forms and different settings. Yeah. This was the best way to illustrate the power of NanoBanana, things that were not possible with any image generation tool previously. Now, is it the only solution? Of course not. The same way that OpenAI opened the door for every AI company to decide they wanted to create text model LLMs, the same way that OpenAI opened the door to show everybody what is a reasoning model and how you can implement it, NanoBanana, I mean Google, because it's a Google solution, has opened the door. So now Alibaba has another system that is called Quan. So Quan image editing, Quan image edit, is offering similar features as NanoBanana and is available. So here you can see a comparison between Quan image edit and NanoBanana on the same game. So you have a picture, in that case it's a Minecraft character, I guess it's Steve if I'm not mistaken. So with NanoBanana you can have it on the box for a figurine, you can have it as a free model, and then Quan is able to do more or less the same thing, the figurine, the box, and the 3D modeling software behind. Here's another example of continuity. So this is a picture of the Golden Bridge in San Francisco, and with a prompt we can ask, based on this image, to have a sunset and some dramatic effect or not on the sunset. The bridge is seen from the exact same view, same location. With the island, you have the landscape behind, but then the entire scene has been redesigned, re-engineered by NanoBanana on the right side and Backlash image on the left side. Yeah. So now there are at least 2 solutions other AI companies are working on. So this is a big change because image edition has been the paramount, I would say, walled garden of Photoshop. A lot of people used to do that for a living, you know, changing images, touching them, and ensuring quality of the outputs and continuity. Now you have it at your fingertips. You just need to know how to prompt. You just need to know how to prompt NanoBanana or Quan image edit. And now this is a new barrier. This is a huge breakthrough in creativity, in image manipulation. Now we have tools that people were probably dreaming about them. Now it's not a dream, it's a reality. And we have at least 2 technology on the market. So this was our top 6 AI news in our top 15 AI news for 2025. Subscribe to our channel. If you want to know what are the top 5, you can go back to watch the top 15 to 11, and I will see you soon here on our channel.